Welcome to the 11th round of the Blitz tournament. Now we are playing very strong Grandmaster who used to play for Bosnia. Now he's playing for the national team of Montenegro, and who knows, maybe in the future he'll play for Serbia or maybe Bulgaria. The game started with the Philidor. I played knight c3, he went for e5, knight f3, knight from b to d7, and I picked this line rook g1, very trendy line, where our initial idea is to expand and remove this knight from f6, h5 to stop that, h3 to prepare later g4, he played c6 and then went for bishop e3. So now usual plan for white is to go queen d2 and longside castling, but here is a little bit interesting that g4 and taking is opening the line, which is not good for white for the practical reasons, so that's why h5 is maybe the most practical option for the blitz, at least for the blitz and faster time controls. He played bishop e7, and now according to engine, white should start with a4 to stop b5 counterplay, since g4 and after take could be met later with e takes d4 followed by knight e5. Anyway, I played g4, I took back, and now he played knight f8, but actually e takes d4 is much better, because if I take with knight here, after knight e5, black is already slightly better here. I'm having a lot of problems with the pawn on g4, and if I go something like f3, I'm in a big trouble, because there is even some sacrifices here on g4 and creating a lot of threats on the king side. He could do that. Instead of that, I would go for bishop takes d4. I saw that move, and now to stop knight e5, but he decided to go for knight f8, which is slightly more passive option. This allows me to go for g5, but on g5 there is knight g4, which looks uncomfortable to give up this bishop, but according to engine it's totally fine to leave it there and go for alongside castles. Even if they take, we just take back with pawn and go castles next. I took on e5, that's actually natural continuation. He took on g4, and now just play bishop f4, get some normal position where if he takes, I'll just trade some pieces and played some endgame. At this point, he has some interesting and tricky moves to put practical pressure on me. For example, knight g6. Also taking on e5 is another option, but this allows me to trade the queens and then take on e5. He's the one that can create more pressure since the rook is open, and I'm not in time for alongside castles. So now he's spending some time thinking for the sequence. Also g5 is possible, where I need to move my bishop back here, otherwise on e3 won't be taken by the knight, and d2 and c1 are very passive. So he has a lot of options, knight g6, g5, even d takes e5, but he decided for knight g6, and now the only move for white is e takes d6. Otherwise I'm losing the pawn on e5 and black is much better. So that intermezzo is really important, taking here, and now he has the only move to keep more space. Knight takes f4, pawn takes e7. If he takes here with queen, then after queen d2 and alongside castles, actually white is better, so he has to trade queens. Now the only logical way is to take back with rook, doesn't make sense to take with knight. He take on e7, and now we're in the endgame where white has solid position, 2 lines for the rook. Black is 1 move away to connect the rooks, but also this knight on c3 is a little bit restricted, and that's usually a fact, so that's why knight e2 is a very nice, like, developing move, trading the worst placed piece on the board. Even though bishop is not developed, bishop is not bad, because bishop eventually will come on c4 later, and even having here bishop on f1 is so solid because it's protecting the king from this knight on f4, and this knight is dangerous, so that's why we are trading this knight. If he dropped the knight back, something like knight g6, here was not possible because rook takes g4, we can just go here and create a lot of threats. He decided to take on e2, I take back with my bishop, and he automatically played a move g6. At this point, instead of playing with pieces, he decided to play with pawns, but he wanna move the knight, so that's why he played it. Knight g5, opened the fire on the knight, he moved back, and now he made a little mistake. Rook h4, according to engine, was the best move, where I don't have an option, to be honest, to play f3 because there is knight e5 and suddenly these dark squares becomes more vulnerable. So he played knight f6, and that's mistake, because now the point of knight g5 and this system with g4, g5 is to exchange the pawn on h6, and knight on g5 is really strong piece. That's the reason why bishop c4 and knight together are creating a lot of threats. Rook f8, and he already doesn't like the position. So definitely white here is better, and maybe we can start with f3 to consolidate our pawn on e4, or we can go for a bit more spicier option, such as e5, which I'm playing in the game. He played directly knight h5, and now here I saw very beautiful sacrifice knight f7. The point of this exchange sacrifice is not similar as in the other lines, because if he commit all of that, there is a very powerful move rook d8, which doesn't allow development, and this is very annoying. He won't be able to develop his pieces properly after this. Even b6, bishop b7 is not possible later because of this, or like there is also weakness here. Knight can get easy in the game, and white is just much better. So after knight takes f7, there is even bigger advantage for white here. He has to find a way to bring the pieces to the game, or to simplify and enter the rook endgame. So now he has an option to go after my bishop first, to grab some space, so later he can catch the moment of bishop b7 if needed. But he decided to go for a very logical move, knight f4. I play knight e6, and he directly developed the bishop on f5. Now, according to engines, I should just take on b7 and continue the game normally. But I take, he take back, and I push a6. So now engine say it's level because of this trade. Like I traded good knight for bad bishop, but still providing some practical problems like this. He played rook e5, king e1, and he took on e6. I think he forgot that he's losing the pawn on g6, and I'm still now slightly better. He put a rook on the open line, but now we are forcingly entering the endgame. Rook endgame, take on e6. He has to take back. Bishop takes, king takes, and now we have pawn up, clear pawn up. King e2, what can happen wrong here, right? Rook h4, rook g1, we at least have a draw, right? a5, a3, so now the game become more intense. a4, rook g7, b5, rook g5, and at this point, you know, maybe I made the wrong decision of allowing him to expand with his pawns too much. Anyway, according to engines, this is equal, but in practice it's very hard to defend this. If white is playing very aggressively, of course, b3, takes, that's a bad decision. Destroying the pawns, king d2, rook f1, f3, he expands with his king. So we have a lot of moves on the board. c5 was played. And now my rook is weird. Very weird. I need to get out with my rook, but also I don't want to allow king c4. So I got a little bit skeptical here how I enter this position at all. Very long time. Pushed f4, he played c4. Now made the only possible blunder, a4. He pushed b4 and my rook is trapped. I couldn't believe what I lost. And now someone shoot the camera with a leg. So yeah, you see, even from totally not possible positions to lose, you can lose the game. Because you're not paying attention and you're playing passive. Yep, that's right. We had the advantage, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.